Hello, and good to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about what's so important about mindset in respects to your business, in respects to your life in general. What makes it so important? Have you thought about that? What do you think about that? Join me by interacting. You can drop a comment. You can, in the chat box, question, opinion, whatever that is. And we can have a discussion about this today. Um, I also, it was really hard to cut this down, but I'm still going to mention some things today that I will not talk about today. We'll talk about it another time. But I still want you to be able to kind of have this mindset with these things under it and how important they are to help you to be able to be successful depending on how you deal with your mindset, how you determine what goes in here and what doesn't, how you determine what's most important. And it's really true that your mindset is really important in your everyday life and your business in helping you to be successful or not. It's really important. So I'm going to bring up a few things and we'll talk about them. In the meantime, let me introduce myself. My name is Cherie Woodard, and I help business builders and entrepreneurs that to be able to come online, use the power of social media, and to build their business by getting prospects, leads, and sales. I also use a variety of ways to do that, and I use attraction marketing, video marketing, branding, as well as lead generation. And I use updated, modern, trending strategies and tips as well. Now, I'm also going to put on the video when it's downloaded in the comment section a free training, and you can take advantage of it. It will be in the comment section when it's downloaded. And it has to do with two top anti-selling posts that are really causing a lot of help to people, causing a lot of people to be able to kind of look at this and then kind of like, oh, okay, I like that, and so it's not like normal, like what used to be normal, pushing and pitching and being salesy and that kind of stuff. It teaches you a different way, a better kind of different way, which was for me. And that's up to you to decide. But I will have that on the video when it's downloaded in the comment section. So I want to make sure to get that out there first. All right, so remember, whether you're here with me live or you're catching this on the replay, you can still drop your comments later if you can't do it now. I understand it's early. People are still doing things. Kids are at school, but who knows what's happening with work right now because of what we're walking through. So you may still be at home, you may be in the office. It just kind of depends. So let's talk about mindset and why it's so important to be considered when you're talking about your business as well as your everyday life, your personal life, the things that are a part of your family, your the things that you do, as whether you exercise, whether you don't, what you eat, what you like to do, who you like to hang around, what books do you like to read, and those types of things. So I'm going to, because I just, it was going to get too big and I was going to be talking too long. So I will cover some of these other topics that are under mindset another day, but I just did, I would focus on one, but I still want to let you know about them all. Self-esteem is really important, and your self-esteem is a part of the mindset that you have. it's important in how it's developed, how it grows. And then I have self-love. Self-love is really important, and a lot of us don't have that. We have to develop it. And there are some people that just automatically they just love themselves. And maybe, and not that you don't love yourself at all, but we can love ourselves, but maybe not love ourselves enough. So we put others always first in front of us, and we always step back, and other things like that. And then I have self-limiting beliefs under this heading as well. Self-limiting beliefs are something that people may not even be aware of, and it can cause, either if you can't harness those, or not harness, if you cannot pull those self-beliefs, those self-limiting beliefs, if you can't um, get those in gear and check them and get rid of them, then it could be lead to a lack of success. It could be a downfall for you, especially in this entrepreneurial journey that we're in. We really need to be able to have all of our faculties and our positive mindset and all of the things that go along with that to be able to help us to grow and go learn and to be successful. So it's one of those important things. And then the last thing I have is self-care. A lot of us don't take care of ourselves. We take care of others. We may take care of ourselves to a certain degree, but we don't give ourselves the time that we need. And that's something that I've been guilty of. And I am changing that and continuing to change that, where I'm putting myself first. But it's just one of those things that I think is really important. So I want to mention those so that as you're thinking about what we're talking about today, I'll bring this back up maybe tomorrow or maybe at another time, give you a little break on this and go into something else. So we'll see how things go. But let's talk about self-esteem and how it's developed. What part does mindset play in that? In my research, from the things that I've seen, and I have three points for you to consider, three key points. And in my research and all of the stuff that I've been reading over time, over the years, and growing more in the last maybe 4 to 5 years, and continuing to learn about this, it's just something that I've really gotten into. I want to be self-aware. I want to know what I'm thinking. I want to be aware of what I'm thinking. I want to be able to have positive thoughts and use those thoughts to help me to learn and grow, and to be able to help others to do the same. Our self-esteem, if we don't have, okay, let me look at my notes. Let me stay on track. So as I already said about the development of your self-esteem, you need to have a good mindset to be able to develop a self-esteem that is going to be able to help you as you go throughout your life, to keep you from being afraid of doing things or saying things or, speaking out or doing the things that you might really love to do or want to do. I have here self-esteem negative and I have positive. So I had, when I was younger, much younger, when I went to school, I was bullied. And I don't know I believe if my self-esteem had been higher. Of course, it's developing at that time, and we're all, kind of not sure. But there are some kids that are stronger, and they just have more presence, and and some of them are nice, and some of them are not so nice, and they like to push people around, and and just treat them differently instead of the way that they should. And so I was one of those kids that did not come with that presence. I was one of those kids that, was kind of bullied and pushed around from, I would say, it was a little bit in grade school, as well as middle school, or we called it junior high school where I came from, as well as when I got to high school. And then after a few years of being in high school, then it stopped. So maybe like the ninth and 10th grade or something. Then after that, eventually, I guess I had been there enough and people had gotten used to me, and so they kind of left me alone. Plus some of the things that I did to finally get them off me. But it had to do with me becoming more self-aware. Even back then, even though I wasn't aware of what was happening, I was so tired of being bullied, but for some reason I just didn't deal with it. I didn't cry about it. I didn't think about it. When I got home, I was just glad to be home. When I got to school, I knew that it was always going to be a tough day for me. That's what it seemed like. And so I just had to deal with that. And I did. And it wasn't one of those things where I could come home and talk to my mom about it. I didn't think about that. So I don't know. And I grew up, way back in the day. So I'm 65 now. So you can imagine when I was growing up, what things might have been like this back in the 60s. And so it was so important though, as I started to change and grow and learn, and I went from maybe my grades not being so good to maybe my grades being better, and then I had teachers that would start to then kind of help to kind of push me, and that little bit of caring and help from them seemed to help my self-esteem, though I had issues. And then though I finally got to a point to where I started to really, I guess I have a better positive self-esteem, but I was still not where I needed to be. So I was still not talking about positives. I dealt with the circumstances around me. I was always looking at that. Let me see, am I jumping into my other? Yeah, I'm jumping into my next one. Okay, so negative or positive self-esteem, really, really important. And when you're, when those of you that have kids, it was so important for me to help my kids to be, positive and grounded, and to be able to help them by, knowing what I went through, kind of trying to see what they were going through, and, to help them to be able to not deal with the stuff that I dealt with as much as possible. But of course, bullying continues on, and so that's and I won't talk about my sons because they may see the video, and they may not really like some things to be divulged, so I won't do that. But we've had some issues still, but they are growing, and they are almost adults now, or my one that's an adult and one that's not. So they did deal with some of that stuff, and we were able to nip my older kids right in the bud, and he became really popular. And then my younger one was popular but had a lot of issues. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Because like I said, I don't want them to, because they don't really like it when we take pictures or selfies. They don't want to really be in my pictures. They don't, kids, teenagers, and young adults. So that's the way it is. But it's really important to me that they developed a positive self-esteem, one that was going to be constructive and instead of destructive, one that was going to help them to grow and learn and be positive about things around them, rather than be negative and always talking negative. And okay, so let's get on. I'm just yada yada. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the next thing I have is, what's important as well is how we see things, how we perceive the things around us, the world around us. Do we look at our circumstances and feel that that's it? We can't go any further. I choose to look beyond my circumstances to where it is that I want to be. And that didn't happen overnight. It was something that I worked on years. When I was in my 20s, I started really changing myself. I wanted to be better. I wanted to be positive. And I, had, and some of you that maybe have been here before have heard me talk about this, but it's important. It was so important to me back in the day that I start changing myself for the better, that I did ask those people that I cared about and trusted, and I cared about their opinion, and I asked them what they thought of me. And I said, just be honest with me. And they would tell me, and they thought that I was kind of gruff. They thought that I was a good person. They thought that I was a hard worker, but that I could be, kind of put offish, until a certain time of day. And then after noon came, then I was more alert and awake. I've just never, back in the day, I was never really a day person, but I always ended up with a day position, and then I float day evenings or whatever. But I listened to what they said, and I took it to heart, and I started going about trying to figure out. And back in the day, it wasn't like I could just do Google, right? So that we didn't even have anything like this. Now, there were not even computers back then that I know of, that especially like that you could have in your home, or in the library or whatever. So I wanted to change myself, and I talked to someone, and they recommended a couple of books that I really liked, and The Power of Positive Thinking was one of them, and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And I read those books, and then I started reading other books, and I started to change myself. I started to be more positive. It was difficult not to look at my circumstances, but I had to aim higher. And as I did, then I decided to continue on with my education. I decided I wanted to be a nurse because I worked in an ER as an EMT, and I loved working with those nurses. They were awesome. They could do anything. I mean, working with patients, in the emergency room that would come there and, barely alive, and we would get them in and put them in the trauma room and start working on them. And those nurses were just, tremendous as well. As well were the doctors. But, I just really thought that that was great. And so I thought that was what I wanted to do. And it really was. And I loved being a nurse, and I still love being a nurse, and I will never give up that part of my life. It's in me. So when people ask me questions, or they want to know my opinion about something, medical, then I'll give it. But I'll say, remember, I'm just a nurse. I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose or anything like that. I can't treat, whatever. So I try to make sure, because I want to cover myself, but I want to be able to help them, in whatever way it is that they're asking me to help, as long as it's not going beyond my scope. In perceiving our world, it's important to be able to see it through positive eyes. It's important to know what you believe. And it's important to have, like I was talking about earlier, attitude. It can be negative or positive. It's important to be positive. If you don't, this really has a difference of whether, especially entrepreneurs, will be successful or not. Mindset is so important. And I did this research, and I knew that. And I remember when I start something, I finish it. And that's how it was in nursing school. That's how it was when I went back for my degrees that were supposed to be such a big help to me. So anyway, it just continued my mind growth, though. So it was a good thing in that way, but it did not net me any more to be able to help take care of my family. But it was good to have the knowledge. And then the last one, let me go, and then time is creeping up on me. Sorry for if you're hearing the paper rattle, and the other thing that's really, really important, this is the third thing to consider. It's important in how you handle hardship, how you handle adversity, how you handle the tough times. It's important to be able to, not fall apart. And if you don't have a positive, strong self-esteem, if you don't have a positive mindset, a positive outlook, when things come along and it's a hard time, because sometimes in our business, there's going to be ebbs and tides, there's going to be good and bad. There's going to be, struggles, and there's going to be wins, and, but that's the way it is. And so as we continue on, it's important to know that if you have a more positive outlook and you don't focus on your circumstances, and you don't, sit up and just talk about how bad things are all the time. Talk about positives, and, focus your mind on positive, because our thoughts are so, so important. We make our own reality with the things that we think, because those thoughts become things. And it's so important for us to remember that. So, I hope that this information was helpful, and I'm sorry that if I yammered along too much, but if you want to ask me questions about something about this, please let me know. You can always message me and ask me, if you don't quite get what I'm talking about. I can give you a reference to some of the research that I did, to check it out, especially if you're wanting to change yourself and be more aware of yourself, and be more in the mind frame of positives. I'm even changing words that I use. I don't like to use can't. I don't like to use hate. I don't like to use should, would, could, those types of things. I don't like to use negatives. I like to, speak positively. And that's just something because I'm feeding my mind and I'm making my reality, and I want to be able to make it and make it good. And I want to be able to help people. And I help those people that are like me, so anyway, that's enough. I've talked too long. I'm just going to, I don't see anything in the chat box right now. So leave your comments. Like I said, whether you're here with me live or whether you're catching us on the replay, whenever you can put them in, and I will answer you, and we can go from there. In the meantime, let me go over some housekeeping things really, really quick. And those of you that know, I'm sure you've heard them before, but keep your notifications on so you know when I'm going live. Remember, we're walking through this stuff we're walking through, surges here and there. So do what you can to keep you, your family, your friends, and others safe. Remember, there are people out there that are isolated, that need a phone call, text message, email, something to acknowledge that they're there and let them know that you're caring about them. It's just busy, and we got all types of stuff that we're doing and needing to do. And even trying to get them on a Zoom might really lift them. For those of us who pray, continue to pray and lift us in our world in prayer, because we're all in this together and we can make it through this together. We need to open our minds and be more positive towards each other and helping each other make it through this deal that we're walking through. And we can do that and come out stronger on the other side. So wherever you are in the world, no matter what time it is for you, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, sleepy time, always make it the best that you can make it. Always be the best that you can be. God bless, God keep. And I will see you again tomorrow with a different topic. And I will determine which one of these we're going to talk about to help you to be better, and myself as well. Remember, I'm in the trenches with you. I'm building my business just like you guys are. Talk soon. Bye.